Hello, my name is Francis Fox, and I'm a trained remote viewer specializing in interspecies communication. All my psychic skills have been trained and examined and statistically analyzed. I found out recently that basically I'm still being tracked 24 hours a day, having nothing to do with sex trafficking, but having to do with what people with my DNA or genetic inheritance, how it is that we react to things. Rather upsetting. But here we are, 2024. I'm very happy that Trump won the election. I would like to make a petition that you remember that as you are celebrating, that those of us that were victimized in terms of sex trafficking or stalking and all the rest of that have zero relief. Our abusers are still loose and they are dangerous and they are angry. And I suspect there will be many people killed, accident at this time, because their handlers, their controls, their abusers would prefer not to have evidence that's a living person. So remember that. And I'm not sure how you would be able to cover that, but I think that the punishing of the people that were abusive perhaps should be followed immediately by or preceded by a protection of the people that were abused, not because we were abused, but because the abuse continues. And I hope this is not falling on deaf ears. The emotional component of Trump's win has been fascinating to watch, and I have enjoyed, along with everybody else, the people that have the Trump derangement syndrome. All those women that are cutting their hair and leaving themselves bald and saying they're not going to have sex. There's a distortion here having to do with a volume of emotions that is so high that logic and intelligence and more profound intentions get completely lost. And so I want to remind you again, when people go to war, it's usually an emotional reaction of anger or fear. We have to make ourselves safe. That's an emotion. When you hit somebody or you want to lash out at somebody or somebody's assaulted, it's always because of emotions. So I think there needs to be a plan, and I will volunteer to put it in place. Somebody has to have a plan to make sure that our extreme joy that Trump won and then the extreme despair of the people that lost does not send this country on a path where we're not centered. And this is not something that Trump is doing. From what I'm seeing from him, he seems pretty centered because he's taking his vitality and his emotions and putting it into programs that he had already set in place in his mind and on paper. So he has a place to put this energy. And of course, the people on the left that are going ballistic don't have a place to put their energy. They can't be saying things that would normally, at another point, have landed them in jail, that were getting away with literally murder verbally. Um, and so they can't get the relief from their emotions from that, from expressing themselves. They're rage and they want to kill everybody. They're killing themselves, cutting their hair off, saying they're not going to have sex, and who knows what else they're going to do. We have got to integrate the reality that the most important part of human beings is our emotional, not component, it's an entire energy body called your spirit. When you are conceived, you're conceived an assemblage of different bodies. And one of them is mental, which are the mind strings, which I discovered and I sketched. And I have a whole book that whenever all the bad guys get out of my way, it'll get to you. And then we have an entire energy body shaped like the physical that is composed of astral particles of emotion. No other body has those astral particles of emotion. Just that one. It's your astral body, but it is your spirit. And when you die, it doesn't pop up out of any place. It actually gets released from the assemblage of bodies but not so much the assemblage of bodies as your physical body. It's freed, which is why people in metaphysics say that when you're born, it's like you died. And when you die, it's like you're free. Because that part of you, which is the one that continues to live after the physical body, which is just a bag of bones, dies, that part of you continues to live. So, what are we doing now post Trump victory to attend the issues, take care of the issues of the spirit of all the people in the United States, including the people who lost? So, we did a sketch yesterday. You know what? And I made it nice. Oh, it's right here. We did a sketch yesterday during the chat of the United States. We did the mantra for panic because a lot of people are having panic attacks. And as we did it, we were lifting up all this red that was not the top layer of the United States. So it was good that we did this. We were releasing, purifying what the Hopi Indians say need to happen. You have to purify. Okay? If not, what you didn't purify will take you down, regardless of how great your plans are. So before this chat, now a couple of minutes, 10 minutes before the chat, what I sketched in the United States was that darn center of the United States spiraling from rage. There is an awful lot of people that don't have a place to put their rage. And this is the center, which would be the heart center, which is the most important center all human beings have, which is why most religions emphasize love, because then that's how people can identify with that center, that center is so important. We are going to work on this now, but before we get to the mantra, to be clearing this, there has to be a plan. Recently, as I said yesterday, there's apparently another suicide virus that has been thrown on planet Earth. A lot of people want to die. So if you get all these people who wanted Trump to lose and were really enjoying themselves with laughing at the ones who wanted him to win, whatever, and all of a sudden they lose, Trump wins. And they've also been open, vulnerable to this virus of suicide. Right now, all they want to do is die. You cannot have such a significant percentage of the country wanting to die. It transfers to their kids, to their work, to their bosses, to the country. And it's so easy to take care of simply with the purification mantra. Even though I want to die, I love and accept myself. And we can do it for other people. That's the good news. You can do it for the others. So we have to take care of the suicide virus. We have got to educate the public. We've got to educate Trump, Elon, and RFK about the pattern of being killed, or your relatives being killed, or you being bullied, such as what happened to Elon, and now it is the threats of assassination. Human beings have a system of strings. That's what string theory is all about, but they don't know it because string theorists would not be dealing with emotions. Oh, okay, don't deal with it. So then somebody outside your field is going to have to discover and unravel string theory because you're square. Our strings are a mental body, and our astral spirit is astral particles of emotions. So your mind strings handle your astral spirit so it doesn't get too much out of control. Or if it's too much out of control, it kind of slips away and then you're disassociated, which in the Lord's Prayer means you're very susceptible to evil. So let's take anybody who has an issue with bullying. They're always being bullied. It takes two to tango. You can't have a bully unless you have somebody who's a victim of bullying, who has the energy of being bullied. If you don't have the energy of being bullied and you're in a room full of people and there's 3 bullies, there's not going to be any bullying going on. because you don't have a magnetic fit. How do you get that? How do you end up being the person that's being bullied, being responsible for the bullying? How did that happen? Your mind strings hold on to that trauma from when you were young, when you were bullied and you were hurt, and all those images, your reaction, your rage, the astral particles of emotions, and the spirits that came in because you opened up a portal from that opens up a portal in the string system, which is like a canopy. So you have this little mess in your mind strings. It's called a vasana, and it's held in particular parts of the body. In terms of bullying, I don't know where it's held. So it's held. But your mind streams create reality. Your intentions are held in your central axis. Your mind streams create reality. And then you have a whole section of mind streams that is holding on to the reality of bullying. But you're still creating from there. You're still creating. You're creating bullies. And law of attraction, you're going to have the bullies come to you in a room full of people. You're going to be the person that's going to get the bullying. A mantra takes care of that. This is the mantra. All of you that are bullied, and Trump was bullied by everybody who wanted to take him down and accused him all sorts of things. Bullied by women. Oh boy. Melania. Trump was bullied by women. Okay. The mantra is an intention mantra, like a prayer, but you do it with breath and you expel through the mouth. And the breath is integral because the breath takes your mind streams to the different dimensions and you need to go deep. Okay. Please, God, help me with my intention to miraculously, because we're in the age of Aquarius, the age of miracles, superpowers. Please, God, help me with my intention to miraculously purify my pattern of bullying. Oh, I don't bully. I didn't say you bullied. You have a pattern inside of you of bullying. You're the one that was bullied. You could become a bully. Sometimes I think Elon gets so happy when he has these big wins and he says something very intelligent and very pointed. It's kind of like an intellectual bullying. But that's the mantra. That takes care of it. So the bullying is not quite as important as the whole assassination thing. We cannot be living on the edge of the precipice. If something happens to Trump, we're all dead. Okay? So nothing can happen to him. So let's build up the military and let's build up the bodyguards. No, do that. Yes, that's the physical dimension. In terms of creating reality, which is what I am trying to understand myself and then to teach it quickly and efficiently. If you have one assassination attempt, you're going to have more unless you purified your mind strings. Trump has not done that. Now, we have done a little bit of that, and I think I'm going to put it up again today on X with 10 hours of our mantra music about purifying the pattern of attempted assassination, because none of them has died yet. Oh, I didn't like the fact that I said yet. I don't like the fact that I said yet, but the future's elastic and plastic, and that can change, and that's what we're here for. To decide what do we want in the future and then create it rather than continuously be looking at what happened in the past, hoping it doesn't happen again in the future, trying to make sure it doesn't. You don't have to do that. We created the past, we created the present, and we create the future, but you can recreate it. But you have to know how to do that, and that's what we're bringing to the table. I'm going to put up 10 hours having to do with that. So I'm going to have the mantra, this mantra I just gave you, and 10 hours of our mantrista music therapy, and I'm going to have it on several platforms, and that will help. It would help also if those 3 men also did it a little bit, or their families did it, because we need to address this. We need to take care of this. We cannot live like I cannot live like this. Now, you know that there was plans to have me murdered. They still would like to do that. They're still talking. How do they get rid of me? But it doesn't have the energy anymore when I check and other people check, because I already did the mantra when I realized that my stepmother wanted me dead. She didn't kill me, so I don't have the pattern of being killed. I have the pattern of people wanting me dead. And I did that mantra, and I actually didn't have to do it that long. And So they can do all the talking that they want. It's not going to happen. It's also not going to happen because I have no intentions of it happening. I have too many things that are looking really good now. So I don't intend on dying. I don't like having to live like this. I don't like having people that would prefer that I be dead, which is why I would love for this issue of the people that did the sex trafficking. And I'm going to say it, the Cuban political mafia. I would like for them all to go home. Go do your little barbecues with your family. Start to explain to them this whole mess because they're going to find out anyway. Better they find out through you and leave me alone. I'm not going to die. That's it. It's not going to happen. But get off my back. And I have a lot of people that are not as strong as me that were involved in this, that are totally victimized, that didn't spend probably hundreds of thousands of dollars on therapy and 30 years trying to figure out how to heal from all of this stuff, even as it's happening. We need to be able to help those people effectively, and it should not be a drain on the system. Nothing having to do with, actually, nothing having to do with very much needs to be a big drain on the system if you work in the other dimensions, which has to do with the power of the mind. We're in the age of Aquarius. So the poster boy of the age of Aquarius now, in my opinion, is Elon Musk. I don't like to say these words, but the poster boy of the previous age of Pisces was Jesus Christ. Well, put the two things together. You know how I feel about Jesus Christ. He was a shaman. He's fabulous. I don't like the marketing they did. I don't like the distortion, everything that they did in order to sell a religion to get followers. I don't like that. They don't know. Uh, they completely obliterated the fact that the man was a shaman, a high level shaman. So, poster boy, Jesus Christ, Elon Musk. Jesus Christ, what happened to him? They crucified him. That was the age of Pisces. They put a crown of thorns over his third eye. So, no, look, not none of that extra information. None of that extra information for human beings. Then we get to the age of Aquarius. And we can have our superpowers, which, by the way, are in the third eye. So we need to be age appropriate, and we need to take responsibility for what we create. We were designed to create, and then we were instructed to obey. No, no more. No more. Okay, one more thing. I'm a shaman. I call myself a galactic shaman because I also deal with illnesses and etc., which are usually mental illnesses having to do with off-planet influences, such as the virus of wanting to die, which then creates the suicide, which is going to hit this country big time between all of those people on the left, the Trump derangement syndrome, millions of illegal aliens that are very frightened because they don't know what they're going to do if they go back to their countries. That's an awful lot of people wanting to die. That's a wave. We got to take care of it. Okay? No dilly-dallying on this. There is no later on this. Now, let's go to shamanism having to do with the center of this country, which is Washington, D.C. Okay, drop that for a minute. If you're going to do a horror movie, what are the two settings? Cemeteries. What's the second setting? Swamps. Oh, isn't Washington, D.C. built on top of a swamp? Yes, it is. It doesn't look like it. I've been there several times. Dang it, I was used as a demo model for the program, for the mind control program. I was a demo model. Soliciting money. So that what they learned with me and the other kids can be put in the school system, and the kids can become much more intelligent because they learn how to raise your IQ through horror stuff, but whatever. Washington, D.C. does not look like a swamp, but it is a swamp. Our government is there. So I would suggest they move the government because you can't clean out the swamp. You can talk about it theoretically. We got to clean out the swamp and get rid of all the people. Swamps change people, they change them. That is why the indigenous never build their tents, their homes, whatever, on swamps. Now, we do have some Indians in the United States and Florida that do live in the Everglades, which is swamps. But if you notice the difference between those, the Miccosukee, and the Indians from like the West, the Indians from the West are tall, thin, lean, very, they look very clean looking. I don't know if they're physically clean, but they look very, the Miccosukis are much heavier, stout, heavier. They have a heavy energy. They live in a swamp. So, what do we do? Move Washington, D.C.? I'm not suggesting you move Washington, D.C., but maybe an effort needs to be made, and I'm not sure, but I could certainly contact a tribe that I know, even though I'm not sure I want to do that. Um, and maybe it would be they have monasteries in India that are they have thousands of monks. So maybe between some indigenous tribes that are not in the United States and maybe these monasteries with nice hefty donations, their job should be to control the spirit world in Washington, D.C. This is not a joke. I can't do that. I was contracted once to read a home that somebody wanted to purchase, except they said, we are purchasing it. I hate it when clients do that. Why don't you ask me before you fall in love? And it had the energy of death. I said, why would that house? I said, was somebody murdered there? Somebody died there? So, well, no, we already looked that up. No. I said, well, then I don't get it. I said, you know what? Let me get back to you. So I checked. And it actually was, there was part of the Civil War was on that land. It was way up north in New York. I didn't know that there were any battles in New York, but apparently there were. And so I said, this is the situation. I have to get to this tribe that I have worked with because I can't do this. I'm not going to do this. I'm not interested in this. So I got back to them and I spoke to the one of the heads of the tribe and I said, I have this property. They don't need to know zip codes or anything. They just you tell them I have this thing and it needs to be cleared. And apparently there's a lot of dead people because there was a war. And they said yes, they could take care of it. So they did. The whole tribe did. There was actually more problems with the home that was getting sold than the home that this family purchased. So that can be done, but there has to be a plan, there has to be a focus. And it's not later, it's now. So you get into swamp, then you have half the people want Trump dead, and then all of them want Elon dead in a swamp, which is dead people. I'm not talking garbage. I'm talking stuff that the powerful people on this planet who look just like you and me, okay dressed and okay living, but they're really powerful. They know this stuff. It's the regular people that don't know this stuff and that need to know it. So, okay, Trump, you got that on your list? What are you going to do about the swamp? Don't say drain it because you can't drain it physically. Yes, you can get rid of all those bad people, but swamps change people. I have a story and I had permission to say this story, and I may forget some details because this was 20 years ago. I had a family that called me because I was on a TV show, whatever, I worked with them. I think they had a child that was suicidal, and like she was in her 20s, but she was still to live at home. And that was when, so this would have been 30 years ago because it was when I was finding out about swamp energies. And I said it was because of where they lived. Anyway, the child ended up getting cancer, ended up dying, committing suicide. I don't remember. They called me like 10 years later. And I had said to them, if you can move, oh no, we can't, we're poor, we can't do anything. Okay, fine. They called me like 10 years later. And I remembered them because it was one of the first cases where I was taking care of somebody. And I said, I think it's where you live that is giving you all these issues. And I went, oh yeah, I remember. And I said, what's going on now? Well, no, now the other daughter, she has cancer. No, no, no. So you can't control what a swamp does for you. I guess if you hired enough people, like you had entire monasteries, doing the continuous 24 hours a day, I think you could probably get that taken care of. It would have to be continuous. It's not that big part of the budget. Um, it wouldn't be, it would be totally affordable and very sweet for everybody for that to be done. But the point of the matter is, I had told this family 10 years before, the first time they called, that they needed to move because I didn't think the problems were going to end, and the problems didn't end. By the time they got back to me 10 years later, the second child was an absolute mess, a wreck, and they had zero vitality. It was sad. And I understand them not believing me because most people don't talk about this because they don't know it. And most people won't look at somebody and say you need to move because then the person you're talking to says, "What are you, nuts? I can't afford that." Oh, okay. It's not okay. It's really not okay. By the way, the one thing that the masters told me would help if you're living in swamp are those crystal bowls, the singing bowls, the one that you um, with the mallet. That. Oh, what is my problem? My problem is I'm getting interfered with. My problem is I'm very frightened, so I'm not as clear-headed. You would need the mantrista move music. There, you would be having to play different versions, and we can create that for you. Um, I've almost forgot. We have music now. I haven't had one composed for cemeteries, but I'll get on it. I still think you should get the monks to be continuously clearing. I still think you should do that. And I would do that more than I would hire the shamans, the tribe that I work with, which would be got really complicated. That's the same tribe that went to the Smithsonian and said, "We want our children's DNA back." Because the Smithsonian went to that mountain, took DNA samples from the kids without asking permission. And that tribe knows you don't fool around with that. They took a piece of the soul of those kids. They didn't want that. I'm sure that they didn't get anything back. Actually, I never asked for the ending of this story. I was so proud of the fact that they had hopped on the plane and had gone there. Very bright people. So everything that I'm suggesting is relatively easy to attend to, particularly the suicide, because the mantras, together with the music, even without the music, are so effective. They're just like a magic wand. The mind creates reality. You undo the knots. You release those emotions. The law of attraction doesn't kick in, and then we could get all of these crazy left inclined people. Now, you do recognize that the level of reaction is above and beyond what is normal for what happened. Yes, they were weaponized. Yes, they believed stories that were told that were god awful, but it is not an appropriate level of reaction. It's so funny because now I'm thinking about Trump and Melania. Um, if you look at them, it's not Trump who's abusing. If anything, Melania, I think, is a Taurus. They are tough. Whoa! It's kind of funny. And if you know astrology, and Taurus is a Gemini. This whole thing with the sexual thing, and I'm going to say it. I don't care how many Geminis are out there and are going to look at me like this. Geminis are not that sexual. They're air signs. They'd much prefer to talk. That's a joke. It's not really a joke. Ask an astrologer. Common sense, guys. I'm not saying anything but what I'm saying. I'm not going to start coming up with excuses for sharing knowledge that might not be politically correct. What the hell do I care about politically correct? So we are going to do a mantra now to clear this rage that's in the center of the country. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to reduce the wanting to die and the hatred in the same purification mantra. So then the mantra, give me a second while I write it. We're going to do a purification mantra. By the way, Elon's mother and Trump's wife, and I don't know if RFK has a woman in his life. I don't know, but they can do the surrogate for them. You can do this mantra for somebody else. You can say, do the mantra and then say to God, this is for so and so. And we're going to do it now for those three men. And we will automatically be doing it for ourselves. And we will have in our intention that this also help the entire country. So the hate is those that lost the election, and the wanting to die is going to deal with that virus that came in. Okay, so I'm going to go to the subconscious composition by Mateo Cuaron, which I love. I think I'm really angry. I mean, I would have wanted to, right after the win, I would have wanted to be able to go and buy lunch. Can't leave my house yet. Okay. I just realized something that's very important. Going back to Washington, D.C. being built on swamps. The lack of respect for indigenous people is the reason why the forefathers would have put Washington, D.C. there. I mean, after all, every time understand the attitude towards Jesus Christ. People feel sorry. He was born in a manger in a barn. I feel sorry for you guys because you're born in hospitals, and above the hospital bed where you're delivering, there's a portal to other dimensions, to dark, dark dimensions, because the trauma of the birth, the screaming and the yelling and the pain and the fear broke through the dimensional walls. So if you're born in a hospital, I feel sorry for you. Somebody who's born in a setting very connected to earth, which in the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic says that's what protects you from evil, with animals there and nothing artificial, the elements, that's a gift. But the fact that we can look at that and go, Jesus was born in a barn, can you imagine? Yeah, I can. Thank God he was born in a barn and not in a modern hospital that has never had a purification practice since they opened the doors to hospitals. Do you know how many spirits are wandering around there? Going back to clearing up the location and the environment of our country, thinking about the whole thing with the monks. If it's swamp, that means that the rooting of the city is swamp. Who's going to make a lot of money with their company on top of water whose pH is really off? That's swamp, full of spirits. Hard to make money there. You're just not going to do it. So if you got the monks at the same time, because your intention is so important, see here, this is Ganesh. Is Ganesh going to come up? I clicked it. Oh, darn. Did I do something wrong? I have not done anything wrong. I'm clicking. It's over here. Why is it over there? Okay, let's go here. Let's try this. Nope. Anyway, Ganesh, if you're into Feng Shui, you know is an elephant. And it represents the root. And you put it in your front door of your home, facing backwards. The backside of the elephant faces the door. And the front, your entrance to your home is the entrance of chi into your home and the people that are there. It's also career. It channels inside and outside the front door or whatever door you use to enter, channels the energy of career. So to get that swamp area attended to, however it's done, the mantrista music, the monks, everything thrown in together, and then to make sure there's enough of the energy of Ganesh, Ganeshe, which is the elephant god, which is really a quality that has to do with prosperity, would be really great. It would be really, really good. And getting back to the whole thing, we're in a change of ages. And it doesn't matter how modern you are. Why do you think we're finding out everything we're finding out about? Because we're in Revelations. So you can go, oh, I don't believe any of that stuff. Okay, no problem. Just check out the news and you will see the evidence. So I would like to make a suggestion that we kind of not put in positions of power people that are very much involved with a particular religion, because that era is over with. It's not that I'm against the religion. That era is not this era we're going into. It's like, it's not. And so to have somebody in a position of power and making decisions for an entire country through an absolute filter of their religious or spiritual beliefs is not a good thing. It's going to be kind of holding back a lot of things that maybe could happen if there was an opening to the other dimensions and a creativity. So you might be saying, well, Francis, that applies to you. No, it doesn't. I'm not a religious person. I find incredibly wonderful things in the Bible. I love Buddhism, but I'm not a Buddhist and I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Catholic. I'm not a religious person. I'm a multidimensional person and I'm a person that really likes power. Ah, Francis, we know your weakness. The definition of power means the ability to do and the ability to act. And being it that I do have intentions, I would like to be powerful in vitalizing those intentions. And you should too. The word power does not include, if you look it up in the dictionary, it doesn't include the word abuse at all. Too many people use their power and they abuse with it, but that's not the definition. And the fact that too many people are abusive with their power doesn't mean that you should not work to be powerful, because that means that whatever your intentions are, you have more of a chance of having them happen. So let's sketch the United States and then we will be finished. I'm sorry, everything sounds so loud when I move it on my desk, and I don't really realize until I kind of listen to my self-esteem is much better. I can actually listen to myself speaking and watch myself, and I don't cringe 100% of the time. Okay. Okay, we did make a difference. We did make a difference. We did make a difference. We're now spinning. We're spinning this is the opposite direction of the movement of the clock, which means rooting and grounding. And it's green, which is the color of healing, the color of the heart. This was after we did it. This is the whole country. This is what is so spectacular about the age of Aquarius and superpowers. And this is what it was before. And let me go into that particular superpower. There are a listing of superpowers that's been known about for centuries, and I don't remember the different superpowers. They have names, and it's in Hinduism and Buddhism. And there's a superpower to where you can make yourself very small in your head, in the other dimensions. Or you can make yourself the size of a mountain. So when I work with the Mantrista movement and we work with things like diseases or whatever, we'll go into our organs. Well, to do that, you're not going to be glaring at your organs from up here. You make yourself small, but it's just like automatic. Your intention is to go into the organ. You can't go into that organ the size of your physical body because the organ is so much smaller. So there's a lot of really interesting things that have been around for centuries, because this listing of, they're called psychic abilities. They're superpowers. That would be the modern word today. The listing is really interesting, and they all have existed for centuries, and people have had them, these superpowers. The trick today is, in the age of Aquarius, we can all have them. Whereas before, it was, you had to live inside a cave, you had to live in the mountains, you had to train, you had to go on these fasts, you had to do so many things for your consciousness to reach that level. Not today. It's a different world, new age. And that's why maybe we have to be very careful, and we should not absolutely disrespect people who are very religious, and we shouldn't throw religion out the window. But maybe we shouldn't put them today in a position of power, because that would mean kind of that the new stuff from the age of Aquarius would be held back. And I was thinking, okay, so what is the kind of like the music for the age of Pisces and Jesus Christ? What I think of is Gregorian chants. Oh, I mean, really, oh, I love them, but they can be a downer. And when I think of the age of Aquarius, I'm thinking about the play Hair. And it's spontaneous, sensual, community, fun, laughing. It's very different. And I am observing and I am sharing. You don't have to agree with anything that I say. But as long as you're listening, I'm happy. Okay? So we will see you in a couple of days when we're due back here, after we see what's going on out there. And do continue to do this mantra, even though I hate and want to die, I love and accept myself, because chances are that your kids that are addicted to electronics, or your mates that are addicted to electronics, or your elected officials who are overworked and overwhelmed and addicted to electronics need to have some of this energy removed from them. And you can do it because you have superpowers. You just need to learn to use them. Okay? Love you a lot. Thank you for joining.